The United States is a mess. 3/4 of Americans believe the country is on the wrong track. Inflation is crushing families. Housing costs are through the roof, and political divisions are tearing communities apart. You don't need charts to see it. Just scroll through social media, listen at a dinner table, or walk into any coffee shop. The anger is everywhere. People are fed up, frustrated, and they're losing faith in their own institutions. But wait a minute, America is still the undisputed global superpower, right? The world's largest economy, the dominant military force, the center of global finance. How does that square with majority of the population thinking everything's going wrong? Look, on paper, America is crushing it. They just posted a 3.8% GDP surge in the second quarter of 2025, way higher than anyone expected. That's the strongest quarterly performance since 2023. They're still controlling 26% of global output, which is literally double what the entire Eurozone produces. Americans are now 140% wealthier per capita than Japanese citizens. Complete flip from 1995 when Japan was ahead by 50%. Silicon Valley alone captures over half of all global high-tech profits, and the dollar still dominates 60% of central bank reserves worldwide. So from the front, the house looks perfect, right? Fresh paint, luxury cars in the driveway, perfectly manicured lawn. But then you peek around back and see the foundation is cracking. The roof is leaking, and there's shouting coming from inside every night. Federal debt just hit 100% of GDP, and it's set to skyrocket to 156% by 2055. They're bleeding $2 trillion deficits yearly. Imagine that. Enough to buy every US home twice over, yet they're still splurging like there's no tomorrow. Interest payments on this debt now eat up 14% of the entire federal budget, literally as much as they spend on defense. It's like making minimum payments on a maxed out credit card while continuing to buy designer clothes. Then in July 2025, Trump signed what he called the One Big Beautiful Bill, $165 billion allocated to border security. We're talking about funding 8,500 new Border Patrol agents, tripling ICE's workforce by hiring 10,000 more officers, and throwing nearly $50 billion at border wall construction. Meanwhile, defense spending got hiked 13% to over $1 trillion for next fiscal year. Hold up, let me get this straight. You're already drowning in debt, paying massive interest on what you already owe, and your solution is to spend even more money? The math makes zero sense. But wait, it gets dumber. Just last month, on September 19th, 2025, Trump dropped this bombshell that had tech companies losing their minds. H-1B visa fees jumped from around $5,000 per petition to $100,000. Companies that were paying pocket change to bring in skilled workers suddenly had to shell out the price of a luxury car for each visa. Are they completely out of their minds? These are the same tech companies that have been America's secret weapon for decades. Silicon Valley didn't become the global tech capital because Americans are naturally better at coding. It became dominant because it sucked up talent from everywhere. Indian engineers, Chinese entrepreneurs, European researchers, Israeli military tech experts. Now, they're making it 20 times more expensive to bring that talent in. It's like the best restaurant in the world suddenly charging their star chefs $100,000 just to work there. What do you think happens next? Those chefs go work somewhere else and your restaurant becomes mediocre real quick. The crazy part is, while America's shooting itself in the foot, everyone keeps saying China's about to take over. But China's numbers are actually pretty rough right now. Their GDP only grew 5.4% in first quarter. They're dealing with deflation, an $18 trillion real estate collapse, and youth unemployment hit 16.5%. In just 3 months, over $1 trillion fled China, like investors were escaping a burning building. Russia's also not doing much better. Their war economy is falling apart with gasoline shortages from Ukrainian drone strikes, and they're only gaining 91 square miles per month in Ukraine despite burning through their reserves. So the big scary rivals everyone's worried about are dealing with their own disasters. America has these incredible advantages: demographics, innovation hubs, geographic benefits, and established institutions. But they're systematically destroying these advantages through policies that seem designed to weaken their own power. It's like watching someone with a winning lottery ticket decide to light it on fire. The real disaster isn't even in the big economic numbers. It's what's happening to actual Americans. And this is where you see how broken things really are. Since 2000, 94% of new jobs have clustered in cities, completely abandoning rural areas. Drive outside the big cities and you'll see what's left behind. Rural America is collapsing in slow motion. 43% higher deaths, 44% higher suicides, and nearly 6 million manufacturing jobs wiped off the map. Factories that once fed families are now empty shells. Rural voters now back Republicans by 30 points, which is 10 times higher than in 1992. This isn't just political disagreement, this is two completely different countries existing within the same borders. You've got thriving tech hubs in places like San Francisco pulling in global talent and profits, while entire regions in states like West Virginia and Ohio are basically being left to die. The urban-rural divide isn't just geography anymore, it's race, education, and religion colliding into one massive cultural war. And somehow, Trump managed to pull in Latino men and non-college whites in 2024, creating this weird, multi-ethnic working-class movement. But instead of bridging divides, policies like that massive border security spending and the H-1B crackdown seem designed to make the splits even deeper. Meanwhile, 41% of rural areas are actively shrinking as people leave for cities. Young people can't find work, older people can't get healthcare, and entire communities are just hollowing out. The social fabric that held these places together for generations is disintegrating. So you have this situation where America's economic metrics look incredible, but the country is literally coming apart at the seams. It's like having a car with a Ferrari engine, but the wheels are about to fall off and the driver's having a mental breakdown. Here's what should really worry everyone. This is exactly how powerful countries have collapsed throughout history. They don't usually just fall over overnight. They hollow out from the inside while maintaining the appearance of strength. Rome kept conquering territory even as the internal economy crumbled. Britain looked unstoppable in 1900 but was broke by 1945. The Dutch controlled global finance until debt and internal divisions brought them down. America in 2025 is showing every classic warning sign: rising debt, internal division, policy responses that make problems worse instead of better, and this massive disconnect between what elites are doing and what's actually happening on the ground. While America's tearing itself apart internally, it's still trying to police the entire world with a military that's increasingly stretched thin. Defense spending is actually below Cold War levels at 2.7% of GDP, and 77% of young Americans can't even qualify for military service due to health, education, or legal issues. The 2025 intelligence assessment shows what they call the CRINC axis: China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea getting tighter, sharing nuclear technology and launching cyber attacks on US infrastructure. China's military buildup is outpacing US production 5-1, especially around Taiwan. They're adding ships, planes, and missiles faster than America can keep up, while Congress is arguing about whether they can afford to match it. They're basically borrowing money to buy weapons to defend against threats that their own stupidity is helping to create. The policy contradictions just keep getting more ridiculous. The same administration spending $165 billion on border security is also cutting programs that actually help Americans. They're talking about slashing Medicaid to pay for $4.5 trillion in tax cuts. Let me repeat that. They want to cut healthcare for working families so they can give tax breaks to billionaires, while spending more money than ever on building walls and hiring immigration officers. It's like watching someone sell their house to buy lottery tickets while their car is being repossessed. The priorities are so backwards it would be hilarious if it wasn't so dangerous. America's superpower status has always been based on being the place where the world's best and brightest want to go. The country that turns new ideas into global industries, where demographic growth keeps the economy dynamic, where immigrants come to build the next generation of companies. That H-1B fee increase, it's attacking the very thing that made America dominant in the first place. Immigration is still adding over 1 million people annually to America's working age population. By 2100, while China's workforce shrinks by 74%, Germany's by 23%, and Russia's by 27%, America's is projected to keep growing. That's a massive long-term advantage that could override a lot of short-term mistakes. But they're throwing it away for what? Political points? To look tough on immigration? It's like having the best players on your team and deciding to trade them all away because some fans don't like their accents. The question is whether America can fix these contradictions before they become terminal. Can they figure out how to maintain global leadership while healing the urban-rural divide? Can they fund defense without bankrupting the country? The next few years are going to determine whether we're watching just another rough patch that America adapts through, like it did after Vietnam, Watergate, and 2008, or whether we're seeing the early stages of something much bigger. A real shift in global power that historians will mark as the end of the American century.